my gosh. My heart flutters every time I go live. I don't know why I get so nervous. So back when I was in church and I'm still taking in the message from God and things as that, researching the scriptures. As a kid, I used to love the story of Queen of Sheba. She was mainly one of the few women in the scriptures that I was sure was black because I knew Mary wasn't. She's often depicted as this pale white woman. So a lot of the people who are described in the Bible, we kind of assume are white or mixed looking white people. So Queen of Sheba has always had a dear place in my heart. That is until I started seeing documentaries where, in certain cultures, she was depicted as a white woman. And it makes sense to me because I was pretty certain she was black. So, as a kid in the church, I would read scriptures like Matthew chapter 12, verse 42, where Jesus was praising her, noting her drive to get answers and set standards for the human race. And that quotes, for she came with the ends of the earth to listen to Solomon's wisdom. And this wisdom was a gift from God. So to ask a white Christian, are there black women in the Bible? You'd get like a shrug. Or, and the thing is, when we look in the scriptures and really understand them, dive deep into the history of black women, even as it relates just to Christianity, she is the heart. And, you won't learn this from certain white people. You're going to have to learn this on your own. It doesn't mean that your church is racist just because they don't speak of black women or the history of black women. It just means that they have their own concerns. And this is time for you to have your own concern and put yourself first in some regard. We think about the song Amazing Grace, which is by a slave trader, John Newton. And he wrote this to reassure himself that he had been forgiven by the many victims. And so when we think about what the canons or the things in the scriptures, we can see that in different cultures, certain segments of the scriptures shift to kind of make one person look better or brighter than the other. And so as a young child, I mostly just wanted to know why black women were being erased from the text, because to my knowledge we have the Eve gene. I know that's even now being fought upon, but to my knowledge black women have always existed. So I was thinking to myself, how are all these people here other than black women? Why are we the forgotten ones? And so I'm starting to realize as a young child, just very early on, that we were being erased from the text. So I kept doing some more research, and I started studying the Bible of different cultures and not just like the American Bible. And so we look in the Song of Songs, and there, Queen of Sheba exposes who she is. She says, I am black, but commonly. It's just so humble. So, in the words of the Bible, her being black means she's got some sun. She isn't apologizing. She is black, but she is speaking to reassure you under all that color, she is white. So, this is kind of a weird take on it from how she is seeing herself in these scriptures. She says, but I'm like thinking about the translation when I first got it after talking to the scholar. I'm thinking about the translation. I'm like, oh, you're another self-hater. Okay, so here is basically not my hero, but someone I admired in the scriptures, speaking about her blackness and then saying that she is white under all of that blackness. But then I look at another scholar's translation. This is Marcia Falk's translation. She says, "Yes, I am black and radiant. O city women watching me, as black as Kedar's Gother tents, or Solomon's fine tapestries, will you disrobe me with your stares? The eyes of many morning suns have pierced my skin, and now I shine, black as the light before the dawn." I thought this was beautiful, how she was giving her own self-description. And, as a queen, I couldn't understand how the Queen of Sheba would kind of demean herself in a way. So I took upon this translation as more accurate. Um, but in every major English translation of the Bible, it says black but the context suggests that isn't there a son or that sons. So this shows that it's kind of being twisted in a way to ignore the other parts of herself that she's speaking of. So, for the translation called Signets has for this passage, it is that I am black and beautiful. And you've probably seen this quote before, I am black and beautiful, black and beautiful. And we've seen this before. Come to know that Queen of Sheba said it first. So clearly, this woman sees herself as both black and beautiful. And this really resonated with me. In Cosmic Drama, she describes herself as being pierced by many morning suns. So we can just really understand how dark her skin is, how 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 richly melanated her tone is. So we can understand the translation as her being black and beautiful. I say all this to say, why in context is our history as Black women being contorted to fit a narrative? Why does our history as Black women start with us being slaves, start with us being warriors, start with us advocating? As I was doing my research for this video, I looked up the history of Black women, and the first few pages I came up were just Civil War, civil rights. It was just a bunch of activism. Our history as being activists, our history of being slaves, our history of being victims. Yet we were strong enough to overcome our victimness, and we were really victims because we could handle it. I hated that. I hated it because under this beautiful chocolate skin, we are women. Simple as that. And women, humans, feel pain. And our humanness needs to be acknowledged. Enough of this strength. And why does our strength have to always be physical? Oh, yes. Even in the movie, I think it had this beautiful actress, Naomi or Liago. She was just beautiful, very, very pretty. And she was like named Woman of the Year. Just stunning. She had like this really short cut, but it was I think like 100 Years a Slave, I think that movie was called. And in the movie they depicted her as being the one of the stronger characters and being very desired by her white master and hated upon by her female white master. And I thought it intriguing that they actually included the female white master in that movie as being hateful, because they sometimes try to fix history uh, by whitewashing it and making her like, oh, I can't believe, where did all these slaves come from? Where did they come from? It's so sad. Like, yeah, you're gonna feed my children with your breast that I think is dirty, but I'm not gonna feed my, it's kind of like, I didn't understand that perspective where these white women were victims themselves. And, I'm not denying their victimness, but I definitely am denying that they were unaware and just were going along with it. Because these are the women who raised these people, they set the culture. And I do believe that white people have a culture. Unlike a lot of people, I believe they have a culture. They have a history, a strong history. And we need to accept that they do. Because by denying them a culture, why wouldn't they seek to take another's? So accept that they have a culture. Allow them to shine in their culture and accept that you have your own history to look up to. Yes, accept that you have your own and they have their own. It doesn't make them better by you accepting that. So yes, I'm looking at these articles that are being written. For example, Teen Vogue, and it's sad because this is what a lot of young people read. And it starts off saying this. This is by Molly Longman. I wonder what she looks like. Anyway, it says, when you think of a strong Black female role model you look up to in your mind, you might automatically wonder to Michelle Obama, Serena Williams, or Beyonce. These three women, really? That's it? That's it. And these are wonderful women to look up to, but that's it? But these contemporary icons are far from the first influential Black women in history who made lasting changes in the United States. And this is something else I don't like. Why is it always in the United States? We are everywhere. We are everywhere. We come from everywhere, and we are everywhere. It goes on to say, the groundbreaking first stretched Black history back centuries beyond Rosa Parks and Katherine Johnson, one of the mathematicians for NASA who had a hand in sending Americans to space for the first time. Beautiful, beautiful. Quote, one can tell a great deal about people, about a nation, by what it deems important enough to remember. This quote, love it. I absolutely love it. Is by Lonnie Bunch. One can tell a great deal about a people, about a nation, by what it deems important enough to remember. I want y'all to keep this quote in mind. And so the story goes on to name some memorable women. Mary McLeod Bethune, who is an educator and fought for the education for Black children. Claudia Colvin, who was the first woman to give up her seat. She was only 15 at the time. But she was kind of ignored in that movement of what she did. Madam C.J. Walker, before Mary Kay, there was a Madam C.J. Walker, and I'm sure y'all are familiar with Mary Kay. I actually really like her makeup and, her skincare items. But anyway, it's not as good as it used to be, I'll say that. They named Ruby Bridges, of course, Lydia D. Newman, Fannie Lou Hamer, Marsha P. Johnson. Okay, Marsha P. Johnson is stated to be the first Black transgender woman and activist. Okay. The reason this stands out to me, and I'll do another video. I'm sure y'all have seen my first one. It wasn't really well done. This one probably isn't either, but my first video was a reaction to this Black YouTuber. I really like her. And she was talking about a cat black, a transgender woman, and I made some remarks on that video that what I took from it. So I remember this name because I had a conversation with a black woman who was a trans activist. I didn't know at the time. I thought we were just having a conversation, but and I came into the conversation talking about black women because she was a black woman. I was thinking, okay, what are we doing? I want to talk to other black women how they see what's going on. And as black women, we kind of have our hands full with our own issues because throughout the history we've been so concerned about everyone else. We never really took the time to solve our own issues, and we wonder why we're at the bottom of the totem pole. I mean, when you're lifting, literally carrying an entire community on your back, you have no hands left. So I just wanted her. We were having a conversation, and we were talking about what the impact of trans women's rights and things like that. And I was like, oh yeah, that's all true. Yes, they need their own, activism, and yeah, it's beautiful that they're now getting their rights and things like that. But I was like, oh yeah, 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 that's cool and everything. But I really don't understand why I, as a black woman who has my hands full, have to take on another task because the conversation ended up being around these black trans women who were demanding for black women to um, face cis men and um, confront them about their uh, sexuality and confront them about what needs to be done and basically tell them we don't need to protect, like all this stuff. And I was just like, okay, now here I am. I'm not going with that. Yes, you fight for your rights, but no, you're not gonna put me in a circumstance of self harm. And that really is what it is. It really is what it is. I've been in non-reciprocal friendships before. It's not pretty. And so I won't ever even I wouldn't even uh funny like I can't even think about putting myself in that circumstance again. Uh, Whether it be just like on a small scale or a larger scale as in my activism. I'm not activising or I'm not fighting for anyone who hasn't fought for me, basically. Um, and you might call that selfish. I don't see it as selfish, of course. Y'all know I understand my history as a black woman, and it's not just, oh, fighting for others, fighting for the rights. Yes, we have done that, and look where we are now. Let's learn from it. Look where we are now. If it hasn't worked in the past, what makes it different in the present? What has changed to make a difference in the present? No one has been able to answer that question. We are still the last to be